Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you all for joining the Gwinnett NAACP's April General Membership Meeting. We're going to give everyone just another minute or two to get into the room. In the meantime, let me bring some people on stage, starting with our president, Mrs. Penny Poole. Good afternoon, Penny.
Good afternoon, Simeon. Good afternoon, beloved Gwinnett community. It is so great to be here in our general meeting.
Absolutely. And we also have a wonderful member of our communications team, Adrian Johnson, here as well. Hi, Adrian. You are muted, but I feel like you were saying the nicest stuff in the world. I feel like whatever you're saying, it was some of the nicest, most wonderful stuff I'd ever heard.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here as well. All right, it looks like we have a couple of folks in the room. Also, I'd like to encourage everyone, please be interactive. Go ahead, make sure you're chatting with us right here in the chat. So in case you have questions, I'll be making sure that I'm taking a look at those. I see a couple of folks checking in saying hello, and we definitely want to hear from you as you are working or as you are listening. And also, if you want to know more about the Gwinnett NAACP, you can go to naacpgwinnett.org. That is also where you can go to volunteer. And last but certainly not least, you can also donate right there at naacpgwinnett.org. And with that in mind, we'll go ahead and get started, and I will hand it over to our president, President Penny Poole.
Welcome again. And we just thank you for being with us this evening. Before we start, I'm going to bring you back, Simeon. If you would say an opening prayer for us, that would be wonderful.
Happily. Lord, thank you for bringing us here together to fellowship, bringing us here together to fight for justice. We know you are a God of justice, and we ask that you continue to order our steps in the name of justice as we continue to fight for equity here in the county and also in the nation. We ask that you bless all of the people speaking today, all of the people watching and listening, all of their families, as we continue to endure this tough pandemic. But we know that you are here with us. We thank you for being here today, and we thank you for the ability to use our voices to ultimately exalt your name and make this world a better place. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. And now we'd like to call this meeting to order. As you know, with our virtual platform, we again had to reinvent how we meet in 2020 and beyond. So what we have done is compiled all of our meetings, our meeting minutes, and our minutes, as you know, are being televised and recorded. So all meeting minutes from our previous meeting has been tabulated and is available for any and all members to view. If you would like to view our minutes, please give us a call, email us, text us. All members are always available to view and review the minutes. And at this time, as they have been reviewed, I'd like someone to accept the minute meetings from our previous April general meeting.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes from our previous March meeting.
Is that a second, Adrian?
I saw it. I didn't hear it, but I did see it. All right.
They second. I
great,
second.
Great. If there are not any questions or inclusions, exclusions, as again, that was virtually recorded and everyone was accepting on last month. All those in favor of accepting our minute meetings, say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed. Okay, so we have no one opposed. Our minute meetings have been accepted from April. Now to move on with our other meetings that have been submitted by our committee members, as well as our financial report, again, was presented and displayed to the executive committee and reviewed. Any member who would like to review or review the notes, again, they can contact us, as it has been reviewed on the 25th of March. Can we bring that to a vote to accept the treasurer's report that was presented on March 25th?
I move that we accept the March 25th Treasury report.
Can we get a second?
And I
Great. As there's no discussion inputs, all those in favor of the treasurer's report say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? The ayes have it. Again, if any member would like to review and those meeting minutes, thank you. They will be available for your review. Again, hello to all of you. There is so much that's going on, and a brief update because we're looking forward to our guest this evening speaking to us about finances that are available from and for your school children as well. And that would be Mr. Tommy Welch, who will be coming to us, as well as Michael Hill. But just briefly speaking about the president's update, we want to emphasize that we are looking for volunteers. We're looking for people to work these committees. Your Gwinnett NAACP has been working behind the scenes in our communications committee, in our membership committee, in our political action committee, in our education committee. We are looking for new ideas, new innovations. Please join us. Go to the website. You can join. You can contact those membership chair. We hope everyone will go and see what we have been doing, especially on our Facebook. Go like our Facebook page. We have been updating our community on many issues. So without further ado, let's meet and greet our guests this evening. Adrian, would you like to start with Mr. Tommy Welch, or would you like me to do the effort for tonight?
just to introduce Dr. Welch.
Yes, Dr. Welch.
Okay. Good evening, Gwinnett County NAACP members. My name is Adrian Johnson. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the Gwinnett County Public Schools Chief Equity and Compliance Officer, Dr. Tommy Welch. We're so glad to have you with us here tonight, Dr. Welch.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate being here today, and I look forward to sharing with you all some information. But most importantly, having a discussion.
Is it just me?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
yeah, I think
can.
You might be having a little bit of a delay, Adrian. Yep, we can hear you, Dr. Welch.
Clearly. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. So I thank you all for inviting me today, and I hope that this creates a dialogue. So as much as I'd like to share information with you, I'd like to have a discussion and hopefully a continued discussion around Gwinnett County Public Schools and educational equity and how can we improve on these areas. But tonight, I wanted to share with you how federal funding plays a role in that. So I have briefly to share with you 7 slides, but before I do that, I want to share with you a little bit about my role in Gwinnett County Public Schools. Chief Equity Officer, Chief Equity and Compliance Officer is my title. I work with the Executive Cabinet to ensure that there's equity that takes place throughout the district. So my work is mainly through influence and research and providing data to provide information that changes actions. So as one chief equity officer and I had a conversation, to awaken the consciousness of the organization as much as possible through information and through data and research. So that is my main charge. And then once they receive the information, then we provide strategies for the division heads so that they can begin to employ those. So that is the main purpose of what I do to create systemic equity. As you know, in any public school system, there are opportunities to improve. So my job is to make sure that we continuously bring those to the forefront, no matter how difficult those conversations may be. And as you know, those conversations are difficult, but they need to take place. So I want to share with you a little bit today about Title I funding and federal funding and how that helps us, but also want to share with you about a grant that we were recently awarded that provides us additional opportunities to provide equity within our school systems. So I'll start first with the presentation, and then after I finish, definitely would like to entertain some questions if time permits. Is that okay with you, Mr. Harris and Ms. Johnson, as well as Ms. Poole?
It is. It is.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Let me see if I can share my information. It's easiest. Okay.
And while we are getting that up, again, everyone, you can go to NAACP Gwinnett.org to get more information about the Gwinnett NAACP. And it looks like your slides are up, Dr. Welch. So
yes,
there we go.
Okay. So what I hope to do today is to give you a brief overview of the funds that are provided for Gwinnett County Public Schools, but to allow you to understand how, as a parent and as a community member, how you can begin to engage with your local schools to navigate and make sure that those dollars end up in the places that you may like to see them the places that you would like to see those dollars take place. So my main purpose for today is I'm going to go over Title I, Part A funding that's applied to the Gwinnett County Public Schools through the federal government. And then I'm going to finish up with the new grant that we were awarded. But before I do that, I wanted to share with you all of the grants or the dollars that are sent to Gwinnett County Public Schools so that you see how they enter into the service. Every Student Succeeds Act, what is the title of this slide, is a legal documentation that provides an opportunity for Gwinnett County Public Schools to receive additional funds to support these very specific areas. And I'm going to share those with you as they go through, Title I, Part A, all the way to the IDEA guidelines. So I'll start first with Title I, Part A, is to improve basic programs. So Gwinnett County Public Schools receives dollars from the federal government to improve learning programs as well as accountability systems to ensure that all students learn at an equitable level. Now, some of you may be familiar with Title I funds and be aware that it's based upon your free or reduced lunch. And I'll share that with you a little bit in the next slides, as well as how many schools we serve. But I wanted to first share with you the buckets of money that are provided. The next one is Title I, Part A, which is another portion of Part A, which are the school improvement grants. Most people typically hear this as the word SIG. That's the acronym that's used. And these are schools that are identified through the federal government as well as the state. And I'll share with you a little bit more about that. Title I, Part C are for migrant education programs. Those are the students that are deemed as that they travel a lot and that they have an opportunity to receive additional funding to help support those areas. If questions come up, I'll share with you a little bit more about Part C, but today my focus will be primarily on Title I, Part A. Title II, Part A is supporting effective instruction. Title II is really to ensure that there's effective professional development in every school. So the federal government gives local schools and the school districts funding so that they can provide effective professional development. It's up to the school district as well as the local schools to determine which professional development they would like to employ. Title III, Part A is for our ELL students. As you see on the slide here, it says English Language Acquisition, Language Enhancement, and Academic Achievement Act. For short, those are our students who come to the education system and speak English as a second language. There's additional funding that's provided specifically for those students. The next one there is Title IV, Part A, Student Support for Academic Enrichment Grant. That provides an opportunity for us to ensure that there's support at every school for our students who need academic support, but also enrichment. The next one on there is McKinney-Vento, talks about the homeless students and unaccompanied youth. So this provides actually additional funding for any student who is homeless. Most people are unaware of that, but if a student comes and declares themselves as homeless, there are additional services that follow that student. And the last one is the IDEA. That's an acronym that you should be familiar with, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. That is the functioning law that supports our students who are those who receive special assistance in regards to students with disabilities. So that guiding legislation is the one that provides not only the funding, but also guides us in how we're to provide the services. So in regards to the federal funding, those are all the pots of money that we receive. I'm going to break it down a little bit further for you so that you begin to understand how those are deployed and how we receive those. I've already shared with you a little bit about ESSA, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act. But just to put it in context, ESSA is the law that holds schools accountable for how students learn and achieve. At the end of every year, you receive a school report card and a district report card that's available on the state's webpage as well as the governor's webpage. And it provides for you a snapshot on how students are doing, segregated by student subgroups. I especially find that very helpful as a chief equity officer because it provides you an opportunity to look at how students group performs within each school, but also within the district. It clearly identifies through a red flag, green flag, or a yellow flag if the students have met the predetermined benchmarks for the state. So that's a quick way to look and see how your schools are achieving as well as the district. The first area that I shared with you already were the Title I, improving academic achievement of the disadvantaged. So I wanted to provide this verbiage for you so that you're able to see kind of what that actually entails. And it provides an opportunity for students who have been traditionally marginalized through the educational system to ensure that those gaps are closed. Title I, Part A funds, improving the basic needs, the basic programs operated by the LEA. LEA stands for Local Educational Organization, and that essentially is the school district as well as the school. So to keep that in mind. And I put the slide on here so that you can understand how you receive the funds. And it says the funds are targeted to high poverty school districts and used to provide supplementary educational services to students who are educationally disadvantaged or at risk of failing to meet the state standards. Now, when your school receives these funds, as a parent, you can actually become involved in the process. At the beginning of every year, they have a Title I parent meeting where the school is required by law to review the budget and where those funds are going. At that point in time, the school district or the school district as well as the parents can come together and begin to discuss how the parents feel that the dollars should be allotted, or if they disagree with how those funds are being allotted, can begin to have a conversation to better navigate those funds. So I strongly encourage you as a parent or as a community member to get involved in the local school council or the PTSA, or make sure that you're available for those actual Title I meetings that happen at the beginning of the year. This is a slide I like to share because a lot of people want to know, so how many schools do we serve? What schools get the money? How much money do they get? So let me help you out with that. So if you look here, we support 68 schools in Gwinnett County, 42 schools, school-wide elementary schools. There's one charter school, North Metro Performing Arts School. Remember, if you're a charter school in Gwinnett County Public Schools and you qualify for free reduced lunch, we still provide you the funding. There's 12 school-wide middle schools and then 13 school-wide high schools. Out of those high schools, they include the ITC as well as the gift centers. So that's something to keep in mind. Our highest free reduced lunch school is Rockbridge Elementary School with 91% free reduced lunch. Well, if you round it up, it's 92%. And then our lowest Title I school is Berkeley Lake at 54%. Our highest middle school is at 91%, which is Sweetwater Middle School. Our lowest free reduced lunch school that receives Title I dollars is Grace Snell, which is about 70% free reduced lunch. And then our highest high school is the ITC Center, which is 80.6% or 81%. And then McClure High School, which is about 81%. And then our lowest free reduced lunch school that receives Title I dollars are Duluth High School with 53% free reduced lunch. So it kind of gives you a snapshot of the schools, how many schools we serve, but also the free reduced lunch percentage from highest to lowest. Dollar amount, when you think about it, there's $38 million that is supplied for Title I schools. $32 million are directly to schools. So out of that, 86% of that 38 million goes directly to the schools. In Gwinnett County Public Schools, we do something it's not unique, but it's a best practice. Some school districts, when they receive their Title I dollars, they hold them at the district level, and then they disseminate them the way they feel they should be. In Gwinnett County Public Schools, we believe in local school control, so that the actual schools receive a majority of that Title I dollars downloaded into their account, which means that the principal and the parents and the teachers have the autonomy to really build that plan of how they want to do it.
Dr.
I have
Welch?
2 more slides, and then I'll be able to answer questions.
Okay, great.
These are 2 very specific grants. This one is a school improvement grant, which provides up to $75,000 in Gwinnett County Public Schools for schools that have been identified through the state as well as the federal government. So they're identified mainly because of their 4-year cohort graduation rate that is below 67%. Currently, we have 4 schools that fit into that category: Give East, Give West, Gwinnett Online Schools, and Phoenix High Schools. So they receive, $75,000 to make improvement specifically on that cohort graduation rate. And then finally, I want to share with you this grant opportunity that we received. And this is very recent. This came through this summer. It's a $5.9 million grant over the duration of 3 years. And this is specifically for teacher and school leader retention, but specifically in the areas that the state as well as the federal government have determined as what they call their high needs area. Some of you may be familiar. If you're familiar with real estate, you know that they have areas that they call opportunity zones that they designated funds for. Well, they've done the same thing in education. So the schools that fall within the opportunity zone had the opportunity to receive additional dollars, because in those areas we find that there's high teacher as well as school leader turnover. So we're currently in the process of ensuring that we develop a strong plan to do exactly what this slide says. An incentive plan to support the implementation of improvement and expansion of the district's school overall human capital management, which means that, in some of those schools, you see the principals turn over maybe every 3 to 5 years. The school, as far as their teachers, the students will say that, the teaching corps turns over. We want to ensure that we have high quality teachers in those schools, but we're also able to retain those teachers. So that's a little bit about some of the federal funding that we receive. I definitely encourage you all as parents and community members to be engaged, and I'd like to talk with you a little bit more about maybe some questions that you have how to engage, when to engage, some advice that maybe I might have and how to engage in the process. But I'll turn it back over to the either to Ms. Poole or Ms. Johnson, so we can continue the conversation.
There was so much information. First of all, where's the school ITC? Where's that located?
Great question. So the ITC is a school that is available in all of our schools that have high ELL populations. So you'll find those in Central Gwinnett cluster, Norcross cluster, Berkmar cluster, as well as the Meadow Creek cluster. And this provides our students who have ELL status an opportunity to accumulate additional credit, much more than the standard student population. As you're aware that when they come to Gwinnett County Public Schools, some of them may need to acquire the English language, and it takes time to do that. So on their transcript, you'll find that they have electives. The state of Georgia currently does not provide a lot of academic credit for those English language support classes. So we wanted to provide an opportunity where students could accelerate their learning and receive more credit and have that opportunity. So the ITC does that. So those clusters that I named, Ms. Poole, have those.
So they're actually targeted classes that these
Correct.
students can take.
Correct. So
And
we wanted to make sure that we
so is
did
it
not,
ESOL? Because previously these things were called ESOL. Is this an extension of ESOL?
Is that
it
like
is,
English as a second language you're referring to?
Yes.
yes,
UO2? Okay.
it is ESL. That's what it is. The ITC is the name of the school. So what we did is we wanted to make sure that we did not remove them from an environment in which that was traditional. If some school districts have completely created separate sites, which we felt could create an opportunity where students would not have the opportunity to learn from their peers, but also feel a part of their community. So instead of creating a totally separate school, we brought the school to the sites of the high schools and clusters that need it the most. So if you were to go onto the campus, the students, they mingle, they're all in the same, but they're receiving extra credits so that they can matriculate quicker through the curriculum because they need the opportunity to acquire the English language. So that's something that we've done. We are currently working with the state to try to see if, the EL 1 and 2 and 3 classes can count for more academic credit towards college. But currently, the way the state is structured, the students need to matriculate through the core curriculum.
So it looks like we have a couple of questions in chat. Do you mind if I go through those?
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Awesome. So one of them by Miss Media on YouTube. Thank you for checking us out on YouTube as well, because we are live on YouTube and Facebook right now. Does GCPS have a coordinator that monitors Title I schools that have continued to decline for more than 3 years, like South Gwinnett and Central?
Yes, we do. That is a part of the Title I grant. And they call it a grant, but it's all the school districts receive it based upon their free or reduced lunch student population. Their local school plan for improvement has to show growth, as well as we have an internal measurement, the WSA process and the RBS process. If a school is not performing, they end up on a targeted status, which means that we ensure that we provide additional resources and support. But we are very sensitive to that. We want to make sure that we don't stigmatize the students and ensure that we provide the support to the teachers and leaders in those spaces so that the teaching can, increase, the learning can increase, as well as student achievement can. But yes, as a Title I school, you do have a higher sense of accountability. I will say that. Because there's something called ROI, which is return on investment, and you get audited once a year. And the state comes out and they want to see if what you're doing is actually increasing student achievement. And if there's a pattern that shows that what you're doing is not resulting in student achievement, there needs to be a change in what you're actually spending the money on. So those things do get audited by the state as well as the district.
And if I'm right, there are 55 Title I schools in the county, correct? With I believe 37 of those being elementary schools, 10 middle schools, and 8 high schools.
So we have 42 elementary schools.
So it's gone up. Okay.
Yes, sir. 12 middle schools and 13 high schools. Yes, it has gone up.
Okay.
It has gone up over the years. We have seen, because of COVID-19, we have seen a decrease in our free reduced lunch population. That does not mean that they are not there. That just means that the data, they have not handed in the forms. So we are working on that, but that's been a trend across the nation. If students aren't in the building, they don't hand in the forms because they're not receiving the lunch. So some students may not feel that it's important to fill out the form.
It looks like we have another question here, and thank you for that. What percentage of Black students, and not the whole people of color group, are steered or actively guided towards the Gwinnett theme schools like GSMST and others?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess another way to put that, is there an active recruitment program for Black students to go to these particular theme schools? And if there isn't, what can be done to ensure that we're represented commensurate with our population? So I'll mix your question up there a little bit, Ruth, if that's all right. Thank you for that question, Ruth.
And that's a great question, Ruth. And have we provided targeted recruitment for the schools that we talked about? So schools like the ITC, schools like the GMSTs, schools like Maxwell. And we don't do targeted recruitment, but we do ensure that each school has equal access, and that we intentionally go out to our schools and ensure that their students are aware. So that's something that we do make sure that we do. But there are some areas that we can, and speaking from an equity officer standpoint, you're talking about targeted recruitment. If you look at some of those schools, we can provide an opportunity to which we may want to ensure that people are aware of it, and do a little bit more outreach, so that people understand the significance of having the opportunity in those schools. Sometimes travel can discourage individuals and things of that sort, but if you completely understand the benefit of doing it, it may be worth the drive. So those are some things that we do.
And just to add a little additional context there, some of our lower income Black families, the traveling is a little bit of concern because mom and dad might be working a little further away. If something happened, it might be harder to go pick up their child. And because we don't have a robust transportation system here in Gwinnett County, I can imagine that could cause a bigger problem for those who have some transportation concerns or lack the transportation in our community. And one of the other things, just to point out, when you were talking about the ESL programs, that is targeted towards a particular group, and it's actually funding that is targeted towards a particular group as well. However, that same particular group doesn't necessarily have the same bottom wealth position that our group has. So you see a group that is receiving additional benefit, but may not be in a wealthless position, and it kind of concerning. And I know this is more of a federal thing, but all of that is included in the same aspect of funds. And so what are some things that can be done to ensure that funding for that group doesn't outweigh funding for our most vulnerable groups here in Gwinnett?
And exactly, can I piggyback off of that? Because Simeon was thinking in the same direction that I was. As this ITC system is embedded into schools around the county, previously Title I classes were for tutoring to make sure that students were brought up to par, that they had additional training. Is that being done with Black students as it used to be in the past? I know when my children were at Norcross High School and they had Title I classes, it was predominantly focused on students who were not meeting their grades, and the majority of those students were Black and African American. Has some safe fill been built to the system, just like this ITC system has been built in?
Yes, let me first answer Mr. Harris's question, and then Ms. Poole, keep me honest to make sure that I circle back and answer that
Yeah.
question as well. So let me start first with Mr. Harris's question in regards to providing additional support for students in those settings. So I 100% thank you for uplifting um, that opportunity to provide additional funding for students who are in need based upon their economic status, and understanding that they may not have the transportation to get to some of those spaces. So that is something that we can continue to look at and to see what we can provide. Now, just for clarity, GMST does have buses that go there. GMST does have buses that actually transport students to that location. It follows the same pattern as the Maxwell bus. So you go to your local school and then you can get to GMST. So it's transportation provided there. But if you wanted to explore the opportunity to attend another school in the district through the referral program, you would not be provided the opportunity for transportation. So those are some areas that we could possibly take a look at. So I appreciate you uplifting that. Mr. Harris, did I answer that question, or did I at least provide some explaining to that?
Yeah, it does. And I hope that there can be a real focus on that, because that is an issue for a lot of the Black parents. And when we talk about really providing equity for our learners across the financial or economic scope, I think and if we're talking about equity, that means if a group doesn't have transportation, part of equity needs to make sure that transportation isn't an obstacle of this group being able to take advantage of these services. So I hope as we're looking to level the playing field, we understand that it might need a taller group of books for this group to see over the fence than another group to be able to see over the fence. And the goal should be for us all to be able to see at the same level, which means that it can't be applied with a broad brush of all, because you have some that have way less and need more. So, my concern is that those who need the most help don't necessarily get the most resources. And I think, if we can work on fashioning all of those programs to ensure that those who need the most help get the most resources. And I think we have to keep transportation on the table when we're talking about schools across this vast county, second most populous county in Georgia, to ensure that a parent over there on the 78 corridor has the same access as a rich parent in Duluth or Grayson.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And Ms. Poole, to answer your question in regards to Title I classes. So we currently, in regards to Title I classes, we don't have identified Title I classes. And the reason why that is because when you do the school-wide approach, and if you notice some of the numbers I gave you, 42 school-wide elementary schools, they receive dollars and they may purchase additional teachers.
Excuse me, let me back that up. Maybe I was not clear. I was not specifically asking for Title I classes. There, when in those schools that were identified as Title I, it also had data that showed most of those children were behind and needed help, especially with tutoring. So there used to be programs, or that schools self-identified and had tutoring sessions built in as part of that curriculum in that school. So that's what I'm talking about, not classes, but actually tutoring, catching children up, just like that ITC is a blinded, melted in so the children would not be would be um, pointed out. Their identities are kept quiet. However, they're getting services they need. Whereas previously with children who were not, who were in the free and reduced lunch program, many were failing because of finances, because of materials, because of them not having the same equity opportunities that other students had. Has that been addressed through these funds? And part two of that, because we're gonna need to go on to Mr. Hill.
I'll still be here.
You made a statement about the homeless being able to come to the school and request help. Previously, if you were homeless in the county, you were not allowed to attend school. So has this changed where now someone can say I'm homeless and actually go get help? So that's a lot I asked you right there. So if you could take parts of those, please.
That's all right. That's why I'm here. Thank you for the clarity. So the first part would be, do we provide, or do schools provide extra support and enrichment for using Title I funds? Yes. So it has changed over the years. Best practice has shown that to provide or to ensure that a child has extra help after school is not the research best opportunity to ensure that students have the opportunity to catch up. And there are several reasons and data that comes to that. You know, you take them out of things that they enjoy because you make them stay after school so they can't participate in extracurricular activities, things of that sort. So what research has said is that it needs to take place during the time that they're there. So if school is from 7 to 2:10, the school must build those mechanisms within this child's school day. So as you mentioned, Ms. Poole, they don't feel isolated, singled out, pulled out, targeted because of that. So what you see in most schools, I'll give you some examples. You might notice that some schools have gone to a block schedule that weren't traditionally on a block schedule. They might have been on a 7-period day schedule. Well, the reason why that happens is because they use the Title I funds to provide extra teachers. It takes more teachers to operate on a block schedule. And a block schedule allows the students to earn more credit than they would on a traditional schedule. So you create a framework in which they receive more opportunities to accumulate credit. But also within the student's schedule, you can put in enrichment as well as support classes. And they appear to be like any normal support class, any normal class that the student would take. So I'll give you an example of some things that we did when I was a principal. Research says that 9th grade Algebra 1 or 9th grade geometry is a gateway course for minority students. It is statistically been shown as a gateway course. So what we did is we provided every student an opportunity to have a double block of those resources so that they would have the support as well as the main class. Every student went through it. And of course, what we saw is that test scores went up 10 to 15 percentage points. But we used our Title I dollars to do that. Also, in a lot of elementary schools, you'll see that they're offering Saturday school as an option for students and for parents. And that is provided through Title I dollars. You also see a lot of STEM programs happening at elementary schools, as well as literacy programs happening. And they're doing that through their Title I dollars. So you do see those support mechanisms. But let me talk a little bit about some of the enrichment pieces that a lot of people don't talk about. So things like College Board, advanced placement testing, SAT testing, things of that sort. Title I funding provides vouchers for students to take those tests. It also provides opportunities for students so they don't have to pay for those advanced placement tests. So it provides additional opportunities for those students.
Vouchers to take that test, but not vouchers for like independent tutoring or anything of that nature, correct? So I'm like, that seems like a little bit of a gap there, because we'll support them in taking the test, but what are we doing to, as a vehicle, move them to that test to where they could be successful? So where is there anything? And I think the previous question really talked about that I had up. I believe it was by Constance, to help provide tutoring for students who need it, particularly allowing families to use outside programs that provide more refined services than supplemental education within the education program.
So yes, you can do that. Most schools provide SAT and College Board additional support during the day. But if the school does not, you as a member of the community, when they're building their Title I plan, you can specifically ask for dollars to be set aside for tutoring. And that is an option. Now, remember when we talked about the federal government audits, best practice, they have found that best practice is not to hire outside tutors, because you cannot control the variability of the support that they receive.
So does that mean it's harder to keep the money that comes in that way as a result of it not following the best practice? Is that what we're kind of leaning there?
No, if you don't get the results, you have some answering to do. And it won't be hard to put aside a couple of dollars, but if you put aside a large amount and think that that's going to increase, the outcomes for a majority of the students, and then they don't take advantage of that opportunity, you could find yourself as a school leader in a bad spot, because research shows that the best opportunity is to provide them the support while you have them, and then also provide the additional one-on-one support for them. So, can I answer your last part of your question?
Well, there's so much happening now. There's a parent who I think had a question just now about, this one was about block teaching, but another parent asked about involvement. How can they become involved? I think it was, yeah. Please let these parents know when they need to get on this list. They can get on these committees and to change the scheduling, to put the information in that they need. Alita Harris Sims, she would having the parents or community members help develop these programs. I know that's what I tried to do 12, 13 years ago. And that's a story we don't want to talk about, because it was not the agenda of Jonathan Patterson, who had other agendas with the Title I monies. So how can a parent in 2021 make their voice known and decide how these dollars are spent in their school?
There are two ways.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Ms. Alita Harris Sims, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Harris, for uplifting that question. Two ways that I strongly suggest you become engaged. Local school council, that's one way, because local school council is different from the PTSA. In the local school council, they go over the mission, vision, the local school plan, the budgets, and the accountability figures. Now, the parents get that information, but in the local school council, you actually discuss that with the parent, with the principal and the assistant principals who are responsible for it. So it's more of an intimate conversation. That's one way. When do you become a part of that? You should engage with your principal now to let them know that you want to join it for next year, and then follow up at the beginning of the year, meaning the first day of school, and do it via email. The second thing that I definitely strongly suggest when we talk about federal funds, at the beginning of every year, they're required, every Title I school is required by law to have a parent meeting. And in that meeting, the parents go through, they advertise it to the parents. They typically do it during open house. The parents come in, they review the Title I budget. Usually the Title I assistant principal does a presentation, and then the parents provide feedback. And that feedback, if the parents aren't okay with the budget, the principal or assistant principal comes back, provides another budget, and it goes back and forth. But one thing that I would suggest during that process is that if you have some strong concerns, do it via email. Voice your concerns to the principal, but do it via email, and maybe follow up with a meeting. And I'm here as a resource, and I always say that I'm here as a resource. I can't sometimes you may not get the answer you want from me, but I will give you the answer, and I will help you get to the person who is the decision maker. And that is, I think that's important in this process. But as a parent, to be involved, I think that's important to the local school council at the beginning of the year, the Title I meeting.
Dr.
It's
Welch, can
there.
you share your information with
Yeah.
the parents right now?
Yes. So my email address is Tommy.Welch at gcpsk12.org. And if there's a way for me to type it in here, I will. Is there a way for me to type it in here?
Is that tommy.welch.gcps.org?
No, it's Tommy.Welch at gcpsk12.org.
gcpsk12.org. There we go.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Right there. Also, and this will lead us into our next speaker for today, but I think it's an important question. Of the $3.8 billion that was earmarked for the CARES Relief Act for Georgia public schools, how much is Gwinnett County estimated to receive?
So I don't have the exact figure. We haven't received all the dollar amounts yet. But I do know that they're currently determining the total amount that we'll receive, and then how we will actually disseminate those funds.
And is there a possibility of any of that being allocated for some of the additional tutoring, additional programs, even some of the nonprofits within the Black community to be able to assist our kids and provide some of those gaps that we see the school system might not be prepared to address right at the moment?
Yeah. Right now, I know that the Office of Curriculum Instruction is working on a summer acceleration program, which they've rolled out to the community, and they're going to continue to go out and talk a little bit more about it. And I would like to, if you all haven't invited Dr. Hunter to come and talk a little bit about the summer accelerated program, I will definitely make sure that he has your all's contact information so he can talk a little bit about that. The CARES Act will fund a majority of that. So summer acceleration is a free opportunity for our community to ensure that the students who haven't been in school, the students who need enrichment or support, can do so during the summer. But the last part of your question regarding will we be able to disseminate that to nonprofits, that answer I am not sure of. So I can get back to you on that, but from my knowledge right now, I haven't heard anything about that.
That'd be great. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Well, thank
President
you.
Poole?
Before you go, I have a question. What is Dr. Hunter's first name?
Clay Hunter. And if you want, you can email me and we could set up a call because he is working to go throughout the community. And this will be a great opportunity for him as well if that hasn't already been set up.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Please contact me at any time. Please know that I'm here as a resource. So use me, but also hold me accountable. And I don't shy away from accountability. I think that makes all of us better. So let's continue to push each other and grow each other as a community, but use me as a resource. Don't be afraid to not call or share your thoughts, and let's see what we can do to get better.
And we'd please like everyone to remember that this is recorded. So if you missed some of the information, please, you can replay it and review what Dr. Welch has said. And there was so much that he still did not get an answer to us to. So write those questions down, email him, get those answers, because we need to make sure that our children's resources are being spent very wisely. And it'll take you parents, please parents. We have Amitra Bradford Stone, who is our education chair. Amitra, can you wave to us? Or well, you're anyway, Amitra Bradford Stone, she is working with our education committee, And it's projects like this that she could use your help on, getting parents to know about the beginning of school, who they need to contact, how to put your dollars into the Title I and get those dollars for your child. Your child, they belong to your child. We have Relita Marsh, who's also on that committee. We have Tracy Brown, who's on that committee. These women are working hard to share information. So please, parents, let's get this money. Let's find out about this money and get it for your use. Dr. Welch, Tommy, since we've been knowing each other for years,
Years.
when you had your 1976 afro, I just had to put that in there. Thank you for being our guest tonight. And we look to have you much, much more with more information that will help our community. Simeon, Adrian, anything else?
I just wanted to say, Dr. Welch, don't wait for us to invite you. You are always invited. Our monthly meetings are on the second Tuesday of each month. You are more than welcome to come at any time. We also want you to feel welcome to present us with any information that you have. Just because we don't have all of the necessary questions, if there's any information that you feel is important to our membership and our community, please feel free at any time to join us and share whatever important information you feel we need to have disseminated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. As we segue into this next event, we just want to quickly note that we are also looking for people to assist with our Juneteenth event that's happening the second the second Saturday in June. We will be working with the Remembrance Project, and we will actually be testing the soil where Charles Hale was murdered in Lawrenceville, Georgia. It's just nonstop with the things that we as a Black community have to deal with. But Juneteenth, the second Saturday in June, the Gwinnett NAACP will be honoring our ancestors and lifting them up, along with the Remembrance Project of Gwinnett County. We are collaboratively working with organizations, faith-based organizations, and an organization who is grounded on getting this information to us. So now let me turn it back over into Adrian, the hands of Adrian and Simeon, and let's bring on Michael Hill. Michael Hill, father,
right. And
man about Gwinnett.
yes, and I have a little bit of info on Mr. Hill here. I'll read as we get ready to bring him up. Michael T. Hill is a national business development advisor representing clients throughout the Southern region. His love for strategic planning and market analysis makes him a trusted resource in representing many CEOs and small business owners over the last 20 years. Upon establishing the Marketplace USA and serving as the founder and past president of the Atlanta Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, Hill has cultivated a niche for mentoring and developing member-based organizations, social enterprises, and minority chambers throughout the nation. His team of subject matter professionals utilize smart and effective marketing strategies and state-of-the-art industry-specific data to deliver an exclusive level of service to their clients. And I'm super happy about having Mr. Hill here. So welcome, Michael Hill. How are you today? I think you are muted there.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. We can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Good to be here. Good to be back in town. Hello, NAACP Gwinnett family. I know I have been away. I'm laughing at Penny said a man around town. I've been everywhere but Gwinnett. So hopefully this presentation will open some eyes in terms of what we need to be doing as a community. So get ready.
Thank you so much. And I know you have a video. Did you want to jump right into the video today?
Yeah, show the presentation. It kicks off some of the work that we've been doing throughout the region. So this is a project that we did in Athens, Georgia. Athens, for those who do not know, I was born in Athens, Georgia. I am an Athenian native, and I grew up in Augusta, Georgia. So I always talked about we have to go back where we came from, take the knowledge back home, and make sure you take that knowledge and root. So this is the project that we did with the Northeast Georgia Business Alliance, now known as the Northeast Georgia Black Chamber of Commerce. So I'm just proud of this, and I served as the program director for this program, and this is a program that we're doing throughout the state and throughout the region.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and play the video, and then we'll jump right into your presentation afterwards. So here we go.
Hello, my name is Clarica Harris. First, I would like to thank the city of Athens, Georgia, as well as the Northeast Georgia Business Alliance for this wonderful opportunity. I know that me, as well as all the other business recipients, are extremely thankful to receive this grant money. Due to the pandemic, my business was affected tremendously. So this is such a blessing.
Last summer, the city of Athens came to us and asked will we be able to issue out grant money to small businesses here in Athens, Georgia. One of the problems that we've seen happening through the pandemic, a lot of businesses shut down and didn't have the needs to carry on from day to day, month to month.
We were able to impact 135 businesses in the Athens-Clarke area. One of the great things about the program was that we provided technical assistance to businesses in need. Our goal was to bring a unique program to the Athens area that was going to provide businesses with technical assistance in real time. We hope that, and through the training that they receive, that they will be in a position to create jobs for the Athens community.
This truly meant the world to me and my sister. It has been incredibly hard to survive throughout this pandemic, but now we'll be able to survive this year as well as 2021. Thank you so much.
The Northeast Georgia Business Alliance made this process so people-friendly. I mean, it was almost as if you can see them sitting taller.
What you always hope to do is see support program transcend just the moment and become a foundation for later learning and later collaboration and later communication.
This is how we change the next generation, because now when I'm empowered, I can empower others around me. And then that trickles down and it trickles down.
So stay tuned. In the future, the Northeast Georgia Black Chamber of Commerce will be bringing you additional grant opportunities. So we look forward to working with you as well as the city for future opportunities.
Close up.
All right. Thank you. And I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Hill.
All right. Let me pull up the presentation this evening. Good evening, everybody. And for the sake of time, I am going to try to get to the core of this presentation for you, and just let me know, team, do you guys see this information? I want to make sure it's full. Oh, is that full for you?
Yeah. Are you able to see it?
Yep. I am able to see it. So, good evening, everyone. So I want to kind of give you guys an update on what I've been working on, and hopefully we can move forward in our own backyard with some of the works that we have been doing throughout the southern region. On February the 5th, I had the pleasure, along with over 100 chambers throughout the U.S., to address Vice President Harris and Secretary Yellen on a conversation that we had regarding what we expected from the Biden administration. Of course, like most events like this, they can tend to be just for staging purposes. So we put together a collaborative group of chambers that represented the South to ensure that this was not just a one-off type of event, and we began engaging the White House at a direct level. And so these are some of the outcomes and things that we're doing as a result of this conversation, and then also making sure that we hold the administration accountable to ensure that particularly Black businesses, Black nonprofits, and the Black community does not be left out like we have historically been. So the title of this is Advancing Racial Equity and Support for Underserved Communities Through the Federal Government. I'm going to talk about this again because this is a very important piece of legislation that has been signed into law that we want to make sure that every single one of you have when we leave this call this evening. So we know about the Constitution, and what we need to understand about the Constitution is an economic document. It is an economic document that is created for owners and landowners of property. So if you are an owner or if you own property, the Constitution was written for you. So I often tell groups that when we think about our situations and these pervasive things that continue to occur, particularly in the African American Constitution, I ask the question, what do you own? What do you control? What do you own and what do you control? A person that I admire most throughout life, and that is Charles Hamilton Houston. And I know our NAACP members know this name well because he was one of the first legal counsels in the 1930s for the NAACP. And this is a person who, in my opinion, who does not get enough attention. There's a video in PBS for the man who killed Jim Crow. And Charles Hamilton was one of the social engineers who actually took a camera through the South and filmed the inequities that were happening. A man before his time. He was also the mentor of Thurgood Marshall, where he headed up the Howard Law School and selected young men at that time to really train them to be civil rights attorneys, and went into the civil rights communities to advocate on behalf of Blacks and things of that nature that was going on at that time. He was also a person who I admire because what they did at that time, at the height of what I consider some of the greatest times of the NAACP, was that they took what was in writing, the law as it was stated, and said, okay, if the law says this, then we will hold you accountable for what the law says. And through that, there were many successes. So when we think about where our beginnings and probably our downfalls are, I want to emphasize that we have to read the laws. We have to influence policies. These are the things that are long-term that can make us effective in terms of changing some of the historical declines and the current declines that are going on in our community. We are the historical disadvantage. And what I mean by that, let it be noted that long-term trauma and terror that many Black people have experienced as a result of mistreatment, unfairness, torment, including but not limited to the de jure slavery from 1619 to 1865, followed by systems of symbols of terror enforced by slave patrols, Black codes, lynching during the Reconstruction era and beyond. Even today, we can see signs of Jim Crow policies that are actively disrupting the advancement of Black Americans. The fear and safety and the lack of protection from those in authority has historically been amplified in the threats and the deaths of Blacks throughout the South, from terroristic organizations such as the KKK and suppressive legislation authored by elected officials since 1965 to present day, and even since February of 2020 last year during the COVID-19 recession and depression impacting Blacks who have been historically blocked and systematically left out from accessing the benefits and supports afforded to our white counterparts till today, as COVID-19 virus disproportionately impacts the life expectancy and health of Black Americans. 41% of Black-owned businesses have closed and are not expected to reopen. That was a collective statement that we as a group came up with when we looked at historical data in terms of what has prevented us as a community of moving forward. So let's look at that from a timeline perspective, okay? So from 1619, we had the beginning of slavery, and we had to follow that 246 years of torment of slavery. Of course, in 1965, and this is an important piece of legislation where we had the Reconstruction to come about. And of course, our promise of a 40 acres of a mule, which was never realized. But fortunately, as a people, we were able to attain land ownership. Between 1910 and 1911 was the peak of land ownership for African American farmers and landowners. But followed the years of laws enacted during Jim Crow, which we experienced 100 years of Jim Crow, followed by 156 years of felony disenfranchisement, and with terroristic groups such as the KKK, the Dixiecrats, the Tea Parties, and mega parties, which made sure that they preserved their legacies, their whiteness, and that's what it was about. So these three laws and three activities that are, again, consistent and persistently impacting a historically disenfranchised people. But then there was another opportunity for us to move forward in 1993 with the New Deal period. And of course, taking advantage of the FHA and the GI bills and things of that nature. But of course, we were excluded from that. So we did not benefit from that 32 years of growth that occurred at that time. Of course, during this time, during the Great Migration, then the decline of property ownership and the increase of commercial property by a more larger farms acquiring Black land at that time. But those lands that were not taken, we had a stake in the ground in 1957 with the Eisenhower Interstate Defense Highways going through African American communities. And by 2002, African Americans had less than 1% of land, which it remains today in the rural areas. Okay, so we get another opportunity, Great Society period of 1964 under the Lyndon B. Johnson, followed by the 1971 Power Memo Act. That's a whole nother conversation at a whole nother time, where you saw the rise of think tanks, and also you saw the rise of different roundtables and corporations coming together who were upset of the many defeats that happened during the civil rights movement and how they began to control what we see and what we hear in society. Of course, that was followed by the war on drugs, 38 years and going on the war on drugs. And then to top it all off in 2009, under the Barack administration during the Great Recession era period, there was further decline on our community. In 2002, we had the siege on the Capitol and what they are now titling Jim Crow 2.0 that we see today. But, and this will be significant when I show you at the next slide, the American Job Relief Plan of 2021. I state to you, ladies and gentlemen, this is our opportunity to move forward. So why did I show you this? And we're talking about economic opportunities. What I wanted to show, and this is something that we show to elected officials, and we've been presenting because we want them to see that this has been a relentless assault on a community. No other culture, not Asians, not Hispanics, no other culture has experienced this relentless pursuit but African Americans. So what has been the result of this relentless pursuit? It has created a median wealth divide between white households and Black households. In 2004, the white household income was at about over 54,000. Black household income was a dismal 48,000, followed by Hispanic households, a dismal 31,000. Okay, so now let's move forward. If you see the line, which is the gray line in terms of what has happened with African Americans, I showed you on the graph 2009, we basically as a community flatline. Today, our household incomes are worth at $294. Who can live off $294? I can't, but that is the wealth. That is not income. So what does it equate to? So for every dollar a white household income earns, wealth for African Americans is equivalent to 1 cent. Hispanics are doing slightly better, 7 cents better, 8 cents for Hispanic households. And this is wealth. So as we celebrate Financial Literacy Month, and this is something that is very strongly on our radar, and these are conversations that have been going on for periods and periods of time. What will we do to change it? What will we do to change it? So in a review, the Reconstruction period, that was an opportunity for African Americans to move forward, but policies reversed those opportunities for us. The New Deal, that was an opportunity for African Americans to benefit from the great growth of the middle class, but policies and barriers prevented us from doing it. The Great Society that Lyndon B. Johnson spoke of, which brought in the era of for us to basically desegregate and integrate and be a part of corporate society. That was reversed in terms of opportunities for us. And even when we said, yes, we can, did we really do what we could do during the Obama administration, or did we relax? But that recessionary period disrupted our gains tremendously. So now we're in the Biden administration. You're hearing about the birth of Bidenomics. And one of the great things that Joe Biden quoted, he said, no society, over time, no society does well when most of its people do not. No democracy can remain stable and secure without shared opportunity and prosperity. So shared opportunity and prosperity is the message and is the way that we move forward with all communities, not just Black communities, but with all communities. But I showed you those first couple of slides to let you know that we are different. We are unique as a people. We have unique circumstances which have defined us over and throughout history of being left out and underserved. So what is the opportunity that we can look forward in this new piece of legislation? One of the great things about this legislation, and we have dug deeply into it, is that for the first time in many years and policies, that these dollars are going to go to the lowest quintile of wage earners. These dollars are going to the working class. These dollars are going to the middle class. This is an opportunity for us to take advantage of those many missed opportunities from years and years and years ago. So advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities, which was signed into law January 20th of 2021. So this is the law of the land, people. So what does that mean to us? So in this beautiful piece of executive order here in 13985, and I do encourage everybody, please read the whole thing because it's a beautiful piece of legislation. I don't know who wrote it, but they did a great job of it. But what I want to point out to you is that it states, pull this out, the federal government should pursue a comprehensive approach to advancing equity for all, including people of color and others who have been historically underserved. Stop. What did I just show you? What do we know the history of African Americans? I think out of any group in the United States of America, any group in the world, African Americans have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by the persistent poverty and inequality. That's what the law states. Why is that important? Because when this executive law was signed into existence, the Biden administration demanded that these policies in this law affect every single federal agency, the Agriculture Department, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy, the Department of Health, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of... So that means any municipality, any school system, any group receiving these federal dollars as a result of the emergency relief and the job rescue plan, any of these agencies that are receiving federal dollars directly from the federal government are subject to make sure that they can have an equity consideration, an equity set aside for people of color. So when we talk about equity, because you're going to hear that term used very loosely a lot, and in that provision, section 2, it defines equity. It means a consistent and systematic, fair, just, and impartial treatment of all individuals, including individuals who belong to underserved communities that have been denied such treatment, such as Blacks, Latinos, Indigenous, Native American persons, Asian and Pacific Islanders, and other people of color, members of religious minorities, LGBT persons, persons with disabilities, persons who live in rural areas, and persons otherwise adversely affected by persistent poverty or inequality. Why is he reading this to us? Because it is the law of the land. So what we've been tracking are different agencies and the different funding projects that I'm going to briefly get into tonight. We have assigned different individuals, and we make sure that you understand what is this legislation, what does it mean to you, and how is it going to impact you. This is a time where we can change the trajectory of Black wealth in America if we are engaged and we are focused and we are assigned to those things that benefit us and those things that are in our economic interest. So we formed a group. I basically said, okay, chambers, Black chambers, that was nice that y'all met with Kamala Harris. That was nice that y'all met with Janet Yellen. So what are you going to do besides doing networking events and trying to sell chicken to billionaires? What will you do different? What does a chamber supposed to do? A chamber is supposed to create economic opportunity for its community. The chamber is supposed to listen to the needs of the businesses, the needs of the nonprofits, the needs and follow the policies that can impact the lifestyle, the way that we work, the where that we live, the where that we play. What are you doing to do that? So these chambers signed on to our agenda, which consists of chambers, elected officials, school board members, and key stakeholders in the community from Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and so on and so forth. Each week on a Wednesday, we meet to discuss these issues to make sure that we educate our elected officials about the policies and what the intent of these federal dollars should be. We are partnered with organizations such as the Black Chamber of Commerce, which serves as an SBA, USDA, and CDFI. We're partnered with the African American Coalition of CDFIs. These are individuals who have direct relationships with the Treasury. So basically, we got our own bank. We can do our own funding. We are partnered with the African American Coalition of Credit Unions to make sure that they serve as fiduciary agencies, particularly when we're dealing with a nonprofit that has a budget less than $25,000, and now all of a sudden they have $500,000, and they say, well, we don't think you can handle $500,000. No, these agencies step in to make sure that that happens, because we do not want to make sure, due to lack of capacity, you get denied. We've partnered with the National Association of African American Hotel Owners and Operators, because we're going to do tourism type projects, particularly as the tourism market comes back. So some of the projects and some of the success stories that we have done, it kicked off, as you saw in the video, in the state of in the city of Athens with Commissioner Obita Thornton and Mayor Getz that you saw also in Athens. Those were the people from a public-private partnership with the city, Truist Bank, and our African-American businesses. We were able to impact over 135 businesses of diverse color in the city of Athens. That was a partnership that included the Hispanic community, the Asian community, and all aspects of the community. And this was a great piece of groundbreaking legislation, which basically got everybody at the table. That was followed by our colleagues in the Tallahassee, Florida area, partnering with the credit unions organization, getting $1 million of getting loans out to women and minorities. Albany, we launched a pilot program where we impact 30 businesses, and we're concluding that program now. I'm going to be representing to the city council to ask for dollars to make sure in the form of grants and low interest loans. Savannah's mayor, Mayor Johnson, was the first mayor in the Southeast to actually come out and support these types of initiatives by supporting his local Black chamber in the city of Savannah. And if you scan these, it'll take you guys to those particular articles. We're partnering with Alex Habersham, been in the business for 40-something years, the Making Black Pages, which really allowed us to launch a partnership with the city of Macon. The mayor of Macon will be presenting this project and this program to the city council, I believe this week. We're excited about that, and our stakeholders in South Carolina partnering. I want to thank Councilwoman Price, who was really instrumental in leading in this, and we're also partnered with the NAACP in Aiken, South Carolina, who's partnered with the chamber to bring forth this legislation. We've launched a regional Black impact study, and we're focusing in on these areas in the South. And I want to get to the whole purpose of this meeting is the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill and what you need to know about it. Georgia is expected, ladies and gentlemen, to receive over $2.2 billion in the COVID relief bill. Your county, my county, Gwinnett County, the county is expected to receive $181,576,222. Again, Gwinnett County, of that $1.9 trillion, is expected to receive $181,579,922. Now, what you need to know about this money is that projects have been earmarked for people who have projects that are ready to be presented. That's what you saw in those other slides where we have gone to cities and municipalities and said, this is what the nonprofits need to be successful in the community. We didn't want PPP loans. We wanted businesses just to get grants that they did not have to pay back. Every single 135 businesses in the Athens-Clarke area did not have to pay that money back. They got loans that range from, grants that range from $1,500 to $25,000. They do not have to pay that back. So we are always asking, how can we grant our businesses and then put them and help them build a capacity they need to be successful? Since earmarks are back, and if you have a project, you need to let your senatorial candidates as well as our House representatives know that these are the projects that we need out of that $1 trillion to come back to our community. We are applying for a grant right now as a collective group for the $175 million of the CARES React Navigation Program. There's an opportunity for everybody to participate in that, basically inform the community about the different programs and services that are available to them as a result of these federal allocations coming out. The priority is, as you see again, businesses that have been socially and economically disadvantaged. I cannot tell you how many times in the legislation, how it's written, that it focuses in on disadvantaged and economically disadvantaged businesses. $2.2 trillion of the $1.9 trillion is coming down for infrastructure and school projects. So let's go back to this. So if your county, and this is what we've been educating elected officials and school board members on, if your county, this first round of money that's coming down, it has been mandated that counties and municipalities can use these dollars as they see fit. It does not have the standard federal dollar restrictions that most monies have. So if the county wanted to do what Athens did, if the county wants to do what Macon is doing, if the county wants to do what Albany did, if the county wants to do what some of these other counties and municipalities in 7 other states are doing, and if they have the political will and creativity and citizens come before them to present projects, they can fund them. But if your county is talking about, oh, we're going to use the $181,579,922 towards infrastructure projects, why would you do that? Why would you use these dollars that you can use as you see fit for infrastructure projects and infrastructure, which will probably be arriving at the cities and municipalities during the month of August, September? $2.2 trillion is coming down for infrastructure. So why would your county waste dollars that it can do some of these great innovative programs to help small business, great innovative programs to help nonprofits in the community to move ahead, to help the citizens? And in this $2.2 trillion package, let's break it down. 621 billion is going towards transportation and infrastructure. Well, not many in the Black community can really take advantage of that because many of us are not in this space. Although we are finding African American businesses to make sure that they help build capacity and not necessarily be a subprime in the opportunity, but actually be a prime in the opportunity. So we are doing capacity building in this thing. So when they talk about, well, we need to do something to water and sewage. Okay, well, 111 billion is going towards water and sewage in this package. Okay, this is infrastructure money. So when the infrastructure money comes down, it's going to be project specific. That has nothing to do with the money that's coming down, the 181 million, which I think is already here. It has nothing to do with that allocation. 100 billion is going for high-speed broadband. You're going to hear them talk about that a lot. 100 billion is going for power and infrastructure. Okay, why are we talking about these transportational things if those first round of dollars are coming down? These are the things that we're advocating for. But here's the beautiful thing about it. 213 billion, you guys, for affordable and sustainable housing. 137 billion for public schools. So not only are public schools going to get 2 rounds of funding, keep that in mind. The school system is about to get 2 pots of money. And I'll show you that in the next slide. So the money that I'm going to show you in the next slide, the school system has already received. They're going to get another round of funding, 131 billion, towards public schools, community colleges, and this is the beautiful thing, child care facilities. 100 billion is going towards workforce development programs. 400 billion is going to be set aside for home, community-based caring, aging relatives, and people with disabilities. Splash. I don't have time to go into this, but you need to pay attention to what happened in the last Splash program and who's and how that money is being divvied up. Other things that we're trying to educate the community on is how to leverage opportunity zones. What do you do with a urban redevelopment district? What do you do with tax allocation districts? What do you do with capital improvement districts? This is what we got on the chambers about. Stop selling chicken to billionaires, and you need to learn these economic terms and how to leverage them, particularly when you got $1.9 trillion coming down the pipeline. Second, 130 billion are going for schools. The Biden administration 3 weeks ago announced 180 billion to be released immediately to the school system as it relates to the COVID relief law. Now, Georgia public schools have been earmarked. Thank you for asking that question, Simeon. 3.8 billion has been earmarked for Georgia schools. This was announced by the John Ossoff camp, who we have been in direct communications to. Now, I'll tell you what John Ossoff said to a city manager in a town hall meeting in Augusta, because one of my colleagues was there. The city managers asked John Ossoff, he said, well, you know, how do we use this first round of money that's coming down? Quote unquote, Mr. Ossoff replied, you can use this money as you see fit. We wanted to make sure that we did not put a whole bunch of restrictions on these federal dollars. We wanted to make sure that these federal dollars go straight to the cities and municipalities, go straight to the counties, go straight to the school systems, because we wanted to give you the discretionary usage of how to use these dollars. So it does not, keep in mind, we are in a pandemic. So these dollars do not have the same federal restrictions that most federal dollars do, because we are in a state of emergency. This money is supposed to go to help and relieve the underserved, the historically disadvantaged, the marginalized, and the people who have been left out. So if you allow elected officials to tell you anything different, that is wrong. And we got that from the White House as well, okay? So we are making sure that citizens understand this your money. You need to have a program to put in front of your city council to make sure that you get these dollars. Macon Bibb is expected to receive 77 million. Macon Bibb school system. Now I want y'all to see this because I like this one. If Macon Bibb County is getting 77 million, their school system is getting 106 million. Whoa. So why is the school system getting more than the county? Because it is a heavily underserved community. They have a high poverty. So guess what? People with a lot of poverty, they get a lot of money. So that means that Title I schools, particularly South Gwinnett, y'all, the South Gwinnett area, a lot of other dollars have been allocated for this community. But if the South Gwinnett community does not allocate or ask for it, that money is going to disappear in somebody's budget, like the money that was deadline for December 31st of last year. This chart will show you what most of the governors are allocating their monies toward: broadband, remote training, curriculum, all of those stuff. That's what they're doing. But 110 billion is going directly to the school districts to serve. Look at that. Serve low-income students will get more money per student. 2 to 22 billion will be added for lost learning. What does that mean? If you have a tutorial program, I heard what our official from the school board said, but listen, I've sat on the school council. I've been a parent. I've been the president of the PTA, and the Title I money is basically, here's what we're going to do with the money, check off, sign, thank you for coming. That's got to change. We got to be innovative with how we use. I'm not talking about Title I because I know Title I comes with restrictions, okay? But I do know in other parts of the United States of America how people are using their Title I funds, because we are communicating. We're communicating about best practices. So you're not going to pull the wool over our eyes because we're now informed. But instead of you getting upset about something, ladies and gentlemen, you have to come with a program and some budgets to present as an alternative. We got to fight for it.
Michael Hill, can I stop you a minute, Michael Hill?
Hold on. Let me get to the summer enrichment programs, Penny. So the school, to answer your question, I think, Simeon, the school system has the flexibility to support outside programs with this money, such as enrichment programs, after school programs. They got a 1.2 billion set aside for that. School students with disabilities, 2.6 billion. Private schools, and I love how they did this, because when you think about private school, we think about a higher net worth, right? Well, the Biden administration was very specific. Private schools that have a significant number of low-income students, 2.8 billion. And you got all these nice other juicy earmarks. Earmarks, you guys. Earmarks are back. So if you have a project and you have a proposal, it is no reason why you should be denied by your city, your county, your municipality, or school system. They just need to have the political will and innovation like these other cities had to do something different. Go ahead, Penny.
Okay. So much information again. And it was not by accident that we came from Dr. Welch to you. How you mentioned people contacting their congressman, their senator, or is there a more direct route where you can help people get plugged in? What does the average person, because a lot of us have businesses that we've been working on and getting ready, we need to be ready. Tell us, if we're not a 501c3 or if we're not already in a organization, help us plug in, Michael. We went way over our time this evening.
Yeah, I'm
way
sorry.
over our time, but we need to know where and how to plug in. If you live in Gwinnett County, who should we reach out to say, educate me on getting this money before this deadline goes?
Well, Penny, I owe you my time. So I would say, and I'm gonna close with this, you guys, if you own land, okay, or you got air property, please pay attention to the provisions in the agricultural portion of the rescue plan. We're doing amazing things. So if you got some land in the country somewhere, you need to go back home. But we do have a group that's meeting about this. There's some huge things that are going in the agricultural business. I cannot stress enough, this legislation is so flexible and life-changing that if we do not take advantage of it as a community, and these are some of the communities that we're currently working in, it is going to be another missed opportunity like
is
all the
there
rest.
a number, Michael? Is there a number? Is there an email? Is there
Well, Penny, what I want to do,
QR code?
what I want
What
to
do we
do,
do?
what I want to do is I want to start with the NAACP. So I want everybody to join this organization. Let's start here. Activate the economic roundtable. I would love to meet with the education committee because we got to educate. I think step one is everything that I just went over is to send out a survey to find out what is in your economic interest. What do you want to start with? Because when I say everybody can economically benefit from this, everybody can economically benefit from this. So I think starting with the NAACP as the hub, Penny, to begin putting different people immediately, you guys. I'm talking about a 48-hour turnaround because the money is here. The money is here. And when elected officials tell you we haven't gotten the guidance on that yet, because we've been hearing that a lot throughout the Southeast, that means that we ain't figured out how to put the barriers on the money yet to keep it from you, okay? So when you ask that question and they tell you they ain't got the guidance on it, I mean, we've been hearing that everywhere because we know the money just got here. And so they're trying to figure it out. And what they're doing is that they're talking to somebody that handled federal money in their department, and they're going to put the same stipulations. But this money is not to be used that way because the Biden administration was very clear on the flexibility and the purposes of these monies. But if you allow, which we're seeing in the little small towns and in the big towns, like I said, I'm coming back home, y'all, and we need to put a group together and we need to talk about and strategically talk about how can we best serve what type of programs. We know, I mean, I've been in the Gwinnett County District, the school test scores have not went up. So obviously, if you keep doing the same thing the same way, it's gonna get the same results. So we got to do something different. You got a pot of money now that you can be innovative with, that you ain't gonna get in trouble with. All right, we just need to be able to have outcomes and objectives. Okay, same thing with the county. You have a pot of money now. What are you going to do to support nonprofits who got great programs that's out there? And that's what Athens said. We got great organizations that are out there who operating with little to no budget, but they've been doing great work. They just never had a capacity to have a relationship with the city. Let's do that. So let's start, Penny, with that. Now I put that on Simeon or any other committee leaders. Collect the names and the numbers, starting with the NAACP. And then the next step will be I will invite them based off the recommendations of the officers to the different roundtables that are going on in the various 7 states. And when I tell you guys, please don't get discouraged. We are doing, I mean, I used to say stuff like Black folks don't do, Black folks, man, it's some Black folks that's doing some powerful things. So I invite the officers to participate in the regional call that we do at 8:30 in the morning. I get that to you, Penny. But on that call, and I want to invite Brother Welch too. On that call, we have mayors, we have elected officials, we have state representatives, we got school board members from Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina. And what they are willing to do is have the political will. That's all it is. The political will to say, you know what, let's try this. Let's do something different. And that's what it's all about.
Well, what the NAACP previously had done on that first round was engage and let a lot of African-American organizations know about that first round of money.
But here's the problem, though. Here's the problem in Gwinnett, and here's the problem, Penny, throughout the South. Who look like us that's controlling distribution of the funds? That's another problem.
Right.
So
I agree.
Even though the Biden administration may have all the great intent in the world, if it's being disseminated by the same group of people, Black and white, who have disseminated the way they've been disseminated it before, nothing will change. What we're saying is, hey, you get your money, but let's try some groups that didn't have a chance to get money. That's what we did in Athens. That's what we're doing all throughout. give another group a chance. You know what I'm saying? You tried this. Let's experiment. And
We're
it's
with
enough
you,
money
Michael.
out
As
there
a
to
matter
do
of
that.
fact, we are way over time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Way
Yeah.
over time.
But we'll talk
so
next.
what's our strategy? Let's get an action plan so that it's clear and
Contact the
concise.
NAACP first. All right. If you on this call, start with the NAACP. And then from that, Penny, you guys can give the additional guidance.
And I just want to point out something here real quick, if it's okay, President Poole. Part of our political advocacy has to be around ensuring that us Black folks as a group here in Gwinnett County get the equity that we deserve as it pertains to this money. One of the things that I found powerful about and me and Michael Hill go back and forth on politics, and one of the things that I found so powerful about what you were saying is you demystified what could be done with the money, and the fact that those stipulations that normally are there aren't there. So from an advocacy perspective, we need to be reaching out to our county commissioners, demanding that a percentage that's equitable to the Black folks in this county of that money goes to our groups, right? So here we are at 27-30% of the county. Then we should be seeing that improvement money. We should be seeing the infrastructure money. We should be seeing the money for educational programs and the money for our nonprofits and things of that nature. And so while the legislation might be about people of color and underserved communities, as it comes down to the local, since the federal part is already done and we can't change that language, as it comes down to the local, it is imperative for us to demand that, one, they have some reporting to show who's getting money and where it went. And we need that reporting racialized. So we need the demographics of the different businesses and the different nonprofits that receive money from the county. And then we need to demand a share of equity. So we can't change the language and how it came, but we can apply all of the pressure we need on the local level.
Oh, the language is powerful though, Simeon. Look, embrace the language. The language is powerful.
I feel fun. One of the reasons I feel funny about some of the languages, that they like to squeeze us out because they'll give it for second language and all of those things. And next thing you know, they're like, we've helped minorities. But
read that
that
executive order also encourages different groups to separate and advocate. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to advocate for your community. That's what other communities are doing.
Yes, and that's exactly what
we'll talk about a lot of the strategy offline. I didn't really want to go into strategy tonight, but there are things that are in place. Like I said, we've been working on this for a year.
Well,
y'all have seen some of the
on our
success
website.
So,
we do have. Please go to our Gwinnett NAACP website. That's www.naacpgwinnett.org. On there, you can sign up and note that you're signing up. You're becoming a member because we want to work with members, and then that you are interested in our community, specifically advocating for African American access to these dollars, and let our commissioners know that we need to be a part of this decision-making process. I have been saying that since last year in 2020. So they have been hearing my voice, seeing these emails. We have 100 people saying the same thing to them. It'll be a different outcome. So,
and I think another thing, Penny, what we do on Wednesday is we show them what their peers are already doing. It's an education, because a lot of them are listening to either to their city manager who don't know, they listen to their city attorney who don't know, but they're not listening. Like we're talking to the White House. I just want everybody to understand that we're not making stuff up. We're talking directly to the White House. We're talking directly to our senators who know the law and understand how these monies are being used. I can show you videotapes of them stating what they state. And I think John Ossoff was down in Macon. He'll state it there. So this money, again, can be used for any purpose as the city or municipality or the school system sees fit, because we are in a state of emergency.
Well, Michael
Period.
Hill, that's why we have you on tonight. That's why we're asking you to share this information. Right now, what's beginning to happen as the governor has opened up the states, much of our community will be in dire needs without answers.
Don't relax. If you got
As
that
a
$1,400
community,
check, don't relax because you sleeping.
right?
That
But if
$1,400 check is nothing compared to what is before you right now. And I'm talking to
right,
every single one of you, whether you're a
but if
for-profit,
we as a
nonprofit, individual.
community, can combine and collaborate with all of these organizations and find housing solutions, find solutions for health inequities, find solutions for training, and not just the thing that gets me as a licensed real estate agent is that they have taken money and put people in these extended stays and in slum conditions, and these are temporary conditions. And the Gwinnett NAACP has been asking for stabilized housing in this county because there is not affordable housing.
Affordable housing. It's so many great provisions in this legislation that we're finding every single day.
It is going on 9 o'clock.
We
need to come to a conclusion.
Out of poverty. Will truly lift people out of poverty.
It's 9 o'clock. We're going to have to come to a conclusion. So number one, you can go to our website, Michael Hill. There's still so much more information that you have. Thank you for sharing this time and information and knowledge with us. We've already talked about the education committee, how important it is, and how we need to get you parents ready for the first day of school so that you can share in that Title I money. But more than that, we need to educate, inform, and us come collectively together to collaborate and not miss these opportunities. So sign up. We need your help. As a matter of fact, the school board meets this Thursday. Again, the school board meets this Thursday. If you elected an official, if you put someone in office, you make sure you show up and support them. Again, we are a nonpartisan organization. However, you show up and support because Dr. Therese Johnson, and I say her name and I will say it again, she has been slandered. She has been minimized. Show up and support these people. There's so much more to talk about this evening. We're at 8:57. Our beloved community, we thank you for your patience in listening, hanging in there with us. Now you've heard the stage is set, and we need your help in our beloved community. Dr. Michael Hill, do you have a conclusion for us? Just not to end this conversation, but next steps and going forward. We're going to give you that, and then we'll end. We'll have Adrian end our event this evening.
Yeah, we'll just let's start collecting the groups, the unsung groups that are out there, the nonprofits that have been doing stuff. Definitely outreach to the business community, and make sure that every individual know how they can benefit from this. What I call it's a generation changing piece of legislation. But if you have groups that are out there, and I'm talking about it's pretty much 4 groups that control the allocation of resources in Gwinnett County, period. And we got the most diverse school board and the most diverse commission for the first time. So the question is, what projects will we present that need to be funded, that we have decided that will change and really truly make an impact in the school system, in the lifestyles of the underserved in the Gwinnett County community? So start here, reach out to the Gwinnett NAACP. We're working closely. Like I said, we got a success story. We're working with the NAACP in Aiken. And I think we started here just like we did in Aiken. So you're going to start hearing more economics coming out, but you got to get involved, get with a committee or a group, and then we'll talk about next steps then. Penny, I think I got Shagan on. We need to get your favorite elected official, city council person, or your favorite school board person on that 8:30 call so they can begin getting educated about how to advocate for our community. So find out who those people are, get them on the call at 8:30. That's where it begins. After that call is concluded, we will start strategizing and talking about next steps and what we've been doing in other cities and municipalities. So it's a 48-hour turnaround, y'all. Let's get on it. The money is here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Michael Hill, again, with the Marketplace USA. Some great information and really an idea of how we need to start advocating in our county, because guess what? The money is here, and the money is here, and we deserve a piece of it. We are a part of this county. We are Gwinnetians. And part of our advocacy has to be ensuring that we get what we need across all areas of activity, education, across housing, all areas of activity. We need to make sure we're getting what we need. So we had some great guests today. We had Dr. Welch and we had Michael Hill on. So I've thoroughly enjoyed each of you. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate you sharing information with our members. And on that note, Penny and Adrian, any last statements before we close out?
Let me acknowledge Edward Paul, our first vice president. He worked so hard. He came on the scene late, but we just need to acknowledge him for all his work and everything that he does. Our EC, we have so many people working hard for us now, volunteering and giving of their time and effort. I want to thank each and every one of you who has been a part of that. And I just, we're so blessed to have these people with us. And let me hope Dennis, Derek Wilson, Princess Hawkins, Simeon Harris, Amitra Stone, Bradford, Angelia Woodlock, Constancia Carter, Tracy Brown, Pete Tigerson, and all other people who in the background. But these are the people who stand out and who work daily hard for you guys. And of course, I mentioned Adrian Johnson. And Adrian, thank you again for working hard to put this program together. It's already 9:02. We're half an hour over. Thank you for being patient with us this evening. Adrian, you've got it. Take us on out.
Thank you so much, Hill. We really appreciate all the information that you shared with us this evening. Also, I want to thank Dr. Welch for joining us this evening. And as the young people are saying these days, you want to know where the money resides? These two gentlemen have told you tonight where the money resides. So what we've got to do is put this information into action. So what we want to do, I did have one question for Mr. Hill. You talked about the meeting that is every Wednesday on 8:30 at 8:30 in the morning. Is that only for elected officials, or is the public invited to that meeting as well?
Yes,
is it a closed meeting?
Yeah, right now that's only for elected officials, school board members, and it is key stakeholders. Like for example, you're a board member of the NAACP, you would qualify to be on that call, because what we're utilizing that call to do is to educate and also show other elected officials what other mayors, what other school board members are doing and how they did it. Because what we're trying to get is champions before we go before and present our case for projects. So we've been doing that very successfully. Now we're getting ready to add presidents of HBCUs, and then we're going to be adding White House officials by the last week of April, so everybody can hear from the horse's mouth what's been going on. So it's a very powerful call. It's 7 states that are on that. So absolutely, I'll make sure you get an invitation.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Again, I want to thank all of our members for joining us tonight. Thank all of our executive committee members. Thank the community at large for being here tonight. And we just like to take a moment to close in prayer. All heads bowed, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for another opportunity to just come together and gather together to share information, dear Heavenly Father. Lord, we thank you for our guests. We thank you for our members. We thank you for our leadership. Lord, we just thank you for any person that has to travel this evening. Lord, we thank you for every household that is represented here tonight. Lord, we ask that you just give us what we need to move forward with this information, to put it into practice, to use it the way you would have us to use this information, dear Heavenly Father. Lord, we thank you for the knowledge that has been shared. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to have access to these funds that don't have the regular stipulations that typically go with these types of money. Lord, we thank you in advance for the blessings that you will give us. Lord, we thank you for our health, strength, and wisdom and knowledge. These things we ask in your son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for this meeting is adjourned.
NAACPGwinnett.org. That is where you can volunteer and donate. Please, NAACPGwinnett.org. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you, Dr. Welch. I'll be sending you an invite if you're still on. I got your cell number.
All right, guys, y'all have been wonderful. Michael Hill.
I think we're still live.